today taking action for the Palestinians who were slaughtered by the Israeli soldiers. We have to take action and we have to show the world that we still are very much alive. Possessing and holding Jerusalem today is like possessing the humanity and protecting the humane values in the world. The Jerusalem is the common memory of the Muslims. It's our common heritage. It's our common endeavor. Jerusalem, at the same time, is a sacred place for the three sacred religions. Any kind of attack on Jerusalem can be deemed as if done on all these values. So today in our meeting, we will not responding towards the invasion of Jerusalem, but we also contribute and we also possess the ideal of living in peace for all three sacred religions. We are fighting and we are saying stop to the bodies who would like to split these regions and live it in its own fate. We would like to tell our Palestinian brothers and sisters that they are not alone in their endeavors against Israel. I would like this to be known by everybody that the case of Jerusalem, the course of Jerusalem is our common course, and Israel is a terroristic state which has blood on its hands, and Jerusalem cannot be left to the mercy of Israel. The Muslims shall not go even one step back from their born rights on the eastern Jerusalem. As it was written on the history of humanity, the 10th of May, as a black stain by the 17th of May, will be recorded in the history that we will force Israel and the United States to turn back from their decision. I would like to express my gratitude to all my friends in this hall for possessing our common values, not because we are all Muslims, but because we would like to live in peace with Christians and Jewish people as well. Of course, I put Zionists aside because they are the responsibles for all these incidents. And I hope that with the decisions that we will make today, we will strengthen our stance against them. My dear brothers, as you know, the United States of America has made an unlawful decision, an unjust decision to move its embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. We got the symptoms of making this kind of a decision, and we started our warnings to them, and we warned them that this kind of a decision will provide more violence in the region as well. This geography, this region is so fragile that even moving a stone will have profound results, and this kind of actions that actually violate the values of the United Nations will have harms not only on Muslims and Christians but also the Jewish. And we also warned them about if they insisted on these wrongdoings, the whole region will be under jeopardy and they will get the biggest harm out of that. But unfortunately, our good intention has not responded well, and despite our warnings, the United States of America became the imprisoner of the bodies that are actually fed themselves by drinking blood. And the governance of the United States has agreed with Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, and some radical evangelists. They came together and they reached a consensus. On Monday, 15th of May 2018, despite all the reactions negatively from the world, carried moved its embassy from Tel Aviv, the capital of Israel, to Jerusalem. And in the very same day, there was a slaughter of Palestinians that were protesting that. So, protesting was a democratic right of Palestinian citizens, and 62 of them were wildly killed by Israel. As a result of Israel's attacks, more than 2,700 Palestinians were injured. Some of them are badly injured. Conservation and protection of Jerusalem ended up loss of lives and a lot of injured person. I hopefully sent my condolences to the families. And I would like to say that what Israel does is being a bandit. It's the terrorism of the state. And it is the very same thing with the Holocaust that was done to the Jewish people 75 years ago. And the Holocaust attempts that we're doing against the Palestinian folk today, they are the same. The children, the grandchildren of the persons who endured the genocide of Jews 75 years ago are doing the very same thing on the children of Palestine. Slaughtering a person who exists on a wheelchair cannot be explained by any other means. Or shooting a bullet to an 8-month-old baby cannot be explained other than being a psychopath. So wildly killing people, women and children shall not have any valid reason. As Mahmoud Darwish says, the Palestine as a fertile country has been converted into an unhuman land. Israel is committing these crimes in front of the eyes of the world, but still tries to justify itself, and they think that they can cover these slaughters with lies, because any kind of crime and murder that is not sought upon justice by the courts will only strengthen the will of the murderer. And since Israel is not answering for their actions before the court, it's getting worse and worse. And Israel is continuing with its slaughters every day. 15th of May, 1948. The exile, the slaughters and the pressure upon Palestinian folk is increasingly going on year by year. And 10th of May, Monday, can be registered to the history of Palestine as a near Nakba Day. My dear brothers, in today's point of stance, Israel was rewarded by the United States, and Palestine was sentenced, actually. And the United States has the blood of innocent Palestinians after their cooperation with Israel. So the United States is no longer a part of the solution, but they are only the part of the problem. And the inclusion of the new actors in the peace process and their functionality is a requirement. Within this context, OIC and I, as the and term chairman, I think it's very important that we start taking joint steps against that. And for Israel's slaughters and their attitude, to be answered correctly, we have to work with our brothers and sisters in this room. And Israel has to answer for his actions before the court, before the international court. And this issue will be followed by us in terms of United Nations and their necessary courts. So, we will carry this issue to the General Assembly, General Committee of the United Nations, and we will get the support of all the decent people there during the month of Ramadan. Starting with our own country, we will start 8 companies for our Palestinian brothers, also in other countries as well, and we will use the diplomatic channels to express our reaction. In the point that we have reached today, we all know this reality. Condemning or getting angry or screaming at people are never enough to stop the invasion or occupation, and it will never be enough. The Muslims shall fight actively until they get what's already theirs. Otherwise, no one will give them that. In Syria, in Erdogan, in many other places, despite being right, the Muslims always lost, and the winners were the tyrants all the time. So this collapsed and unfair system shall be changed. The Jerusalem Decree of the United States is the symptom of the new operations against the Islamic world. If we fail to give the sufficient reaction, you can believe me that the worst is yet to come. Any kind of success in this manner will be a benchmark for the Muslims. That's why we have to pull ourselves back together, and we have to gather around, we have to come together.